I don't think a lot of people saw LA developing as it did. And that's where we stand with LAX, because it was built in an era. I mean, again, think about this. When LAX was built as Mines Field, the population of LA wasn't 1 million people yet. Yo, welcome to another episode of In a Minute with Evan Lovett, coming to you live from the I Am Studios in the heart of LA. And you can't spell LAX without LA. But the problem is LAX has problems, major problems. So how do we fix LAX? Thing is, I fly a little bit. I'm not going to say I fly a lot, but Pittsburgh, Boston, Chicago, Vegas, Mexico, we go at least a few times a year through LAX. And every time I need to steel my reserve, gird my loins, get ready for an ordeal. And it's not fun. I like flying. I like airports. I like being on planes. But LAX, honestly, is one of the worst experiences of all the airports that I go to. It's just a fact. I'm sorry. I love it. Paul Revere Williams theme building. We'll get to that. It's got some good-ish aspects, but man, it's tough. But it's important because about 80 plus million people per year go through LAX. And the opinions are pretty bad. But first, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Armin Arto Brick. Always coming through, does beautiful work, tile and brick. And I'm not talking just random tile and brick. We're talking historic landmarks, Mariachi Plaza, Alvera Street, USC, Ojai Valley Inn, I believe, Vallarta, Viviana, right there in his factory in Gardena, keeping jobs in LA, manufacturing in LA. Thank you, Arto Brick. We love you, and thanks for the sponsorship. Great dude, third generation LA legacy, 1966, keeping it here in LA. So that's so important. And maybe Arto Brick needs to start working on this LAX renovation, which is coming, and we will get to that too. But something needs to happen. And, you know, the theme, the title I think we're going to go with today is How Do We Fix LAX? That's pending. We're going to see what the real title is going to be. But let me get to these headlines so you know I'm not just griping about my recent trip to Boston and Pittsburgh, by the way. Listen to these headlines, okay? NBC, a recent survey from Upgraded Points named LAX the worst airport in the United States for international travel. KTLA, LAX named amongst the worst airports to have a layover at. Needs help with that grammar, but that's okay. Wall Street Journal, straight up easy. Travelers hate LAX. LA Times, worst airport to fly into. Destinations, why is LAX so bad? LA Times again. Longest wait to get through customs. And I know that one firsthand. When my son, we were coming back from one of our Mexico trips. We try to go to a different destination in Mexico every year. My wife's family's from Mexico, Zacatecas, Huanusco to be precise. Sometimes we fly into Aguas Calientes. Other times we'll just go to, around Puerto Vallarta, Mexico City. Anyway, point is, one time we were coming back from Mexico, and it was 2.5 hours in customs. Yes, I know. Get the world traveler, all that kind of stuff. This is before we knew all that. And by the way, I think maybe, and being honest here, one of my gripes is my known traveler, my TSA expired, and I'm going on 9 months still pending. So whoever's in charge of that, DHS, please push mine through because it's obnoxious. And I'll get into my wait times on recent flight experience as well. But the thing is, and the icing on the cake, MarketWatch Guides analyzed 20 different metrics ranging from food and beverage prices to how easy it is to get into the Wi-Fi, to which airports are easiest to navigate, to park at, to drive through, the aesthetics, and the overall layover and flying experience, and LAX ranked in the bottom percentile. So it's not a good airport. I want it to be, especially with the Super Bowl, the World Cup, the Olympics. to mention everything else going on. And I don't want to pour it on LA, man. You know, we've had a tough year. There's a lot going on, but it's not a secret. It's terrible. Here's your LAX experience. Here's my LAX experience. Whether you ride share, well, parking, whole different thing. So you ride share, however you get there, traffic's obnoxious. Okay, that's LA, but you're in the dreaded horseshoe and it's narrow and there's cars going in and out and it's tough to navigate. And there's those weird little cut through areas that I'm like, sure, I'll cut through because I got a flight in Terminal 7. But guess what? You get stuck on a 1-lane bridge and all of a sudden you're like, why did I do this? This is taking longer. Parking is a beast. $60 a day, $70 a day for preferred parking. It's a tough experience. Once you get dropped off, security or check-in, narrow, long lines, then a long walk to security. Recent flight. I'll give you a thing instead of speaking generically, okay? Our last flight, we flew American. Newly refurbished terminal. Yay, hallelujah. This is the first step of the huge renovation for LAX. We are in the newly refurbished terminal, which looks nice. Aesthetically, I was like, this is gorgeous. I literally sent pictures and texted my group thread. I was like, this is dope. Looks like a modern airport. Well, then we had to go like upstairs to security after we checked it. Check-in was actually okay. It was crowded, but it was okay. Those self-serve kiosks, especially if you check in beforehand, do your luggage thing, it was a pretty decent process. But then you go upstairs to security. And again, I got no TSA. Maybe that's my bad, but it took 30 minutes to get through security on what day of the week was it? On a Wednesday, random weekday Wednesday. Then, all right, I'm through security. Don't need to take your shoes off anymore. I guess that's a good thing. And then it was a 17-minute walk to my gate. And I was like, that's crazy. That seemed like a long time without a lot of food options, without a lot of places to charge my phone. And again, it's just crowded and narrow, even in the newly refurbished parts of the airport. So I don't get it. And that's the new part. So LAX is not a great experience. I'm sorry to say. Tom Bradley's nice-ish. My wife thinks the whole airport looks run down, and I think her word was dingy, which I think is accurate. Again, the theme building, Paul Revere Williams, shout out, iconic as it is. It doesn't serve a purpose. You're not allowed in there. I know it used to be a restaurant. It's cool and quote unquote futuristic from a past Jetsons era kind of standpoint, but right now it's taking up space and hurts the efficiency. But here was the list of issues I put together, okay? And tell me if you disagree. Tell me if you like flying out of LAX, because I can't imagine that that's the case for many people, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. All right. Traffic in and out. Not talking about the actual LAX in and out, which is badass and one of the best in and outs, even though that's crowded. But that's not anything to do. But traffic in and out of the airport is terrible. Overcrowded, whether we're talking about the traffic, the check-in, the security, the waiting. It just is. Hey, that's LA, life in the big city. Fine. The horseshoe design, that may be the core problem of the whole thing. You know what I'm talking about? The U shape, the horseshoe shape. And I actually looked into why it is shaped like a horseshoe. So there's something to that because I did want to know why. Security lines. I'm big on security. I think we know that in multiple ways. It is important. I've seen it efficient at some airports. It's a tough thing. I'm not going to harp too much on that because I'd rather be too secure than err the other way. So I'm going to push that to the side. Food options are terrible, man. I put together a list of the food options terminal by terminal. There are good options at some terminals, but man, when I go to these other airports, I'm like, holy cow, there's like all these great food options, you know, even in Pittsburgh. What's Pittsburgh? Mac Miller, shout out. But I mean, LAX should have some, yes, Loteria. There's multiple Loterias. Panda Express. Take Terminal B. Stella Bar, Carl's Jr., Panda Express, Coffee Bean, Engine Company 28. Not enough. Even Tom Bradley. Tom Bradley's decent, but nothing great. Planet Hollywood? That's kind of weird. There's just not a lot of good. Terminal 4. Dunkin' Donuts, Homeboy Cafe. Shout out to Homeboy Cafe. And actually, I think that closed, to be honest, because it wasn't open when I was there. Sammy's Woodfire Pizza, natural break. You got to have some options because flights are delayed these days, not necessarily LAX's fault. But man, the food options are terrible. It's always under construction. And maybe in the long term, that is a good thing. Again, good news is supposedly on the horizon, $30 billion infrastructure project coming. I will get the details on that. But again, it makes it less navigable. It closes down things. You have to take detours in the airport. It's tough. Unattached terminals. My goodness, dude. I don't know if you've needed to go terminal to terminal. I have. I'm a walker. I'm a pacer. I'm a shortcut taker sometimes. But you need to go in the airport, out the airport. It's just weird that there's no connectivity. Again, so many waiting areas without chargers in 2025. First world problem. True. But come on, man. I've been to airport. We were just in 3 airports. Again, Pittsburgh, Boston, Chicago. That all chargers all over the place and charger stations and a charger high top table and chargers everywhere. So LAX has a lot of issues. And with LAX being on the world stage with millions of visitors coming in per year, it's going to be an issue even more so than it is now. LAX right now, by the way, I do want to address the customs thing, has more international travelers, which is interesting, than any other airport in the United States. So that's why customs takes so long. But that number is going to be even more robust in the coming years. And just get ready for the onslaught of criticism. I know that the goal is by 2028 to have the airport up to speed and modernized and beautiful, but it's a long road. And look, no offense, American Airlines, you got me where I needed to be safely, and that is the most important thing. But if that's indicative of the entire renovation, there's going to be some issues. I also do want to address the people mover. I'll address that now. I was going to say I don't want to jump ahead, but let's address that, okay? It's cool. It is the there's not a ton of parking, and I know that's kind of the point because they want everybody to take mass transit. It's nice. It's not a cathedral. It's not beautiful. That's fine. I didn't need it to be. I happen to think that the LAX flyaway in Van Nuys is like basically on par, and that's not even like a big deal. And part of the reason I don't take the LAX flyaway, even though I'm a Valley guy, is because, again, I don't want to drive to have to take a bus to get to my plane. And I know that, listen, there's a big movement for mass transit in Los Angeles, and it is extremely, extremely important to have that access. But let's get the people mover built to get me into the airport, and then I'm going to give it a better shot, because right now I get to the station and I still need to take a shuttle or a bus or whatever to get to LAX. So it is incomplete. It's scheduled to begin at some point next year. The budget, of course, is crazy. We know budget overruns happen all over the place. And that's a big deal. And, with the budget deficit in Los Angeles, I don't know how that's going to turn out, but they are doing it and it's working. But the thing doesn't even connect with Union Station, which is the main hub for Los Angeles. And that's kind of weird. So it sort of seems piecemeal how they're doing this. I know it was a big deal. I want to tout it. Shout out to people for trying to make it happen. All the government organizations involved. It is important, but right now it's not there. Okay. So let's leave it at that. But how did we get here? Before we're talking about how they're going to fix it, I want to talk about how we got here. Okay. The first thing that I looked up is why it's a horseshoe. Okay. I'm going to kind of work backwards-ish because I do, you know how I do with the history. I'm going to give the history of how LAX even became LAX, but horseshoe. In the late 50s, when they designed it, the architects and the city planners wanted it to be modern. They wanted it to be gleaming. They think the theme building, which was one of the results, and in fact, one of the only things remaining or that was actually built in the original vision, right? Rapidly growing demands of the jet age, and we're getting the future, and people are flying, and flying is becoming more accessible and cheaper. And the idea was to group the separate terminals in a compact inward-facing loop around centralized parking and roadways. This would have been a quote-unquote futuristic passenger-friendly layout where cars could easily access each terminal from a shared roadway with parking and the iconic theme building at the center. So the vision wasn't just the theme building. It was supposed to be like a massive hub, a glass dome, a steel and glass dome. Think it would have been beautiful. Go look at the renderings that connected all the terminals. But funding dried up, design changes, realistic ideas, pragmatism kind of took priority, and the theme building was left as a symbolic centerpiece, and they added on those connecting, those shortcuts, if you will, those single lane shortcuts that put the fear in me, because I always fear, what if a car breaks down when I'm trying to cut over to United or whatever it is, and I'm stuck there. I always think I'm going to leave my car and just walk with my luggage, which sucks. I won't really do that, but that's what I think at the time, right? And by the way, I want to say something. I'm a chronic early arriver. I am very anxious, let's say. I like to get to the airport 2 hours early on a domestic flight, 3+ on an international. I know people that leave their house in the valley with like an hour 20 before their flight, and that makes me nervous even when it's not my flight. So I get there with a lot of time, just in case, because I know how things operate at LAX. I much prefer to fly out of Burbank, community airport, quaint, cute, terrible eating options, I will admit. One decent bar. I mean, what's not a decent bar? They have alcohol, it's a decent bar. But it's small, it feels like community, but even Burbank's undergoing a huge renovation. We're not talking about Burbank, but Burbank is a cute, charming, quaint community airport. Much prefer to fly out of there, but you can't fly everywhere out of there. Nonstop, international, not as many options. So we're at LAX a lot, and the experience is rough. So that's why it's a horseshoe. But the reason why we got here is because LAX wasn't really intended to be the main airport in LA, at least when it started. It was Mines Field in 1928, and I got some awesome, there are some awesome pictures, a little like goats eating, I want to say it was an alfalfa field, and it's a cute little terminal. The Grand Central Terminal in Glendale was actually the main airport at the time, and this was like the dawn of the aviation age, and there are many airstrips and things all over LA. I mean, there's still a ton of airports in LA. Van Nuys, Whitman, you name it. Ontario, by the way, is supposed to be a great airport. I haven't been there, but I hear a lot of good things about it. But LAX was Mines Field, right? And then in the 40s, it became home for a lot of military, and El Segundo was aerospace capital of the world. Airport's right there in El Segundo. Thing got built up again with the jet age, with the way LAX developed. By the way, shout out to Surf Ridge, Playa del Rey, the LA's beach town, which was right there on the west side of LAX, and now is just an abandoned beach town that they had to tear down because of all the noise and the pollution from LAX. But LAX next to Westchester, El Segundo, Playa del Rey, again, Surf Ridge at the time. And it became the main airport, and that's what it was. And in 1984, as you may have heard, the world's greatest Olympic Games ever were right here in Los Angeles. But in the run up to those Olympics was when they really made the last notable positive renovations in LAX, making it a real world-class airport. Tom Bradley International Airport. It marked LAX as a true international gateway. And you know what? It was magical, like the rest of the city, the freeways, the traffic, the crime, the homelessness, all of it improved for the Olympics. Again, thank you, Peter Ueberroth. Thank you, Tom Bradley. I would really like a redux of that in 28. This point looks like a very tough mountain to climb. But hopefully we get there. By the 21st century, LAX was the second busiest airport in the United States, at one point up to 88 million passengers a year. Pandemic took everybody's numbers down. LAX still hasn't fully recovered, but we're still in the 80s, and that's a lot. It's top 10 in the U.S. So how are they going to improve it? How are we going to fix LAX? Traffic, parking. Oh, one thing I didn't mention that's really tough. Every time I go to LAX and I'm coming home, rideshare like changes. It used to be you could like call your Uber. I know you couldn't do that. Fine, I'll take a taxi. Nope, taxis don't come to the gates now and the departures. You have to take a shuttle to the rideshare lot. The rideshare lot's a pain in the butt, far away, just outside of the airport, which in itself is annoying because you just land from wherever you came from and now you got to get on another shuttle. And it's like, dude, let me just go home. Let me start going home, please. But rideshare lot is obnoxious. It's far. As I mentioned before, there's certain smells in the air. It's tough. There's a lot of issues. And parking your car there, you don't want to pay $60 a day, man. I don't. What if you're going away for 3 days, 7 days? Come on, man. That's obnoxious. So aging infrastructure, criticism galore. American rolled out their new terminal. And again, I'm sorry, but it's not that impressive. So what are we doing? How are we going to fix it? Well, there's a $30 billion modernization effort. New terminals, runway resurfacing, automated people mover, revamp a Tom Bradley International, rental cars. I didn't even mention that because I don't need to rent a car in LA, but I do know this. You can't rent your car at LAX like you can at every other normal airport. You got to, again, take the shuttle or the bus and go to like Enterprise or Hertz or whatever that's off site. And it's like, dude, I know there's space limitations, but it gives me headaches just thinking about and just talking about. It's obnoxious. I don't know another way to say it. It's obnoxious and it's also not beautiful. So it's tough. It's a tough infrastructure situation. Is it the size, the scale? Is it the layout? Is it the horseshoe? Is it because it was never intended to be the main airport? But the fact is this, the Olympics are coming amongst all the other things. Super Bowl, World Cup. I think we heard WNBA All-Star Game as well. U.S. Open. I think tennis or golf. Mayor Bass said that last week. I did not check on that, but I know that she said there was another main sporting event. Plus just everything else that goes in L.A. And L.A. is a premier destination as is. So, I mean, all right, what are they doing? $30 billion. What is that going to do? Automated people mover. To alleviate traffic and congestion and improve connectivity. 2.25 mile elevated train system connecting terminals, parking, rental car facilities, and metro rail. Scheduled to begin operations next year. Delays, budget increases. LAX apparently has some issues with the contractors to finalize the project. It will get done. But I think originally when they rolled it out, it was supposed to be done in 22, then 24. Then they rolled a piece of it out this year. So hopefully it is 26. But I'm fairly confident that that'll at least be done by 28. So next, roadway improvements. Merging in and getting into LAX. Whether you're taking Manchester, Sepulveda, Howard Hughes, there's not a lot of ways in. They got to find a way to streamline that flow. Get in, get out. They are going to include a new entry ramp from Sepulveda Boulevard. Okay. That's going to lead directly to the upper level. Upper level is departures, right? Is departures above terminals 1 to 4. I don't know about the rest of the terminals, but hey, it's a good start. It's going to, wow. Look at this. It's going to relocate that LAX neon sign. So that's interesting and replace the light pylon. So we'll see what that looks like just aesthetically. But all told, 14 miles of new roadway are being constructed. I don't know if that means some replacement roadway. That sounds like a big number. But I know they are going to add at least the Sepulveda on-ramp, which is something, which is significant. So you got the people mover, you got the road modernization, and then now the terminal modernization and expansion. Terminals 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all going to have new gates, modernized interiors, improved circulation, and expanded lounges. I'm not a lounge guy. I got friends that are diehard lounge people. I like being out with the people. I do. I like seeing it. I like seeing my gate. I like being able to get up and walk around. I'll go eat something or drink something or not. I read. I'm on my phone. I'm walking. I'm pacing. I'm not a lounge person, but a lot of people are big on that. And LAX currently has 21 lounges. Some of my friends don't think that's enough or they're not good enough. I don't know. I've only been in one. It was an Amex lounge, and I'm like, whatever. It's a lounge. I'd rather be in the airport. So I'm going to leave that aside. American Airlines terminal is already done. We discussed that. Delta is leading the terminals in 2 and 3. They're going to have a new check-in lobby, new security screening, centralized baggage claim, seismic upgrades. Come on, this is LA. That's important. That's mandatory. I'm not going to count that as part of the LAX modernization improvement. That's something that needs to be done everywhere as technology dictates. Tom Bradley, this is big. Biometric boarding. Now, I will tell you this. When I did have TSA and known traveler, or what's it called? Global traveler? Global entry. I did like that I could just scan my face and my eyes and walk right through customs. That was one of the coolest things. Again, that's not an LAX only thing. That's a technology, government, security thing. But hey, put it in on the boarding. I'm all in on that. Again, if you know somebody DHS, please get my application approved so I can get that. Expanded amenities in Tom Bradley, new concourses, and improved connection with the people mover. Okay. Here's a big one for people that rent cars. Probably not a lot of you that are in LA, but there will be a ConRack, consolidated rent-a-car facility being built as part of the modernization program, consolidating rental car operations like a good, normal airport should, and improve the overall experience for travelers picking up and dropping off rental vehicles, which also takes some of those shuttles and those buses and the ride shares off the road for people who are going to rent their car. And then addressing the congestion, the biggest issue, the people mover, the roadway improvements are crucial. They're going to address, again, I don't love projections. This is a little crass, but one of my old CEOs in the company I used to work for say projections are just as good as toilet paper because you wipe your behind with them. And if they're like, going to reduce traffic by 50%, well, it's nice to talk about. But let's see it, because projections, you can use all your formulas and your algorithms, but real life is a different thing and people need to adopt things differently. And the pace in which they embrace change is a little bit slower than maybe projections would indicate. But projections say that it's going to reduce congestion. I know it will somewhat, so that's good. The big aim, just like a big aim in the city, is to reduce reliance on personal vehicles and encourage the use of public transportation and ride sharing. Now, this is something I talk about a lot. You guys know I'm a car person, car advocate. Sorry, Michael Schneider, great guest, Streets for All, Eli Littman, people that are big transportation advocates. I like the car. I like the economy. I like autonomy. I like driving. It's important to me, but it is important as a society and as a city that we have an effective and efficient mass transit. And that starts with LAX, which is the spoke in the hub, in the wheel of the city that turns this city. So it's a bigger project than just LAX, but if you do have good, massive scale beyond LAX. But if you do have that efficient transit to and from LAX, that's a great place to start. So if that's the aim, good. But again, people need to embrace it because there are more people from LA that are flying to and from LAX than people that come from somewhere else. And you need to train the people in Los Angeles to use that. And I fear, for the sake of, again, these kind of projections, that a lot of people are like me and will want to use their cars. But if you show me it's easy, you show me it's efficient, you show me how it could be done, I will do it. And I think a lot of people will follow suit. So there's a lot of challenges and a lot of struggles. And the thing is, LAX wasn't intended to be, I mean, just like LA, the growth is something that was people couldn't foresee unless you're William Mulholland in 1906. I don't think a lot of people saw LA developing as it did. And that's where we stand with LAX, because it was built in an era. I mean, again, think about this. When LAX was built as Mines Field, the population of LA wasn't 1 million people yet. And now LA County's 10 million people. Space limitations, built, most of the infrastructure and the footprint was built in the 50s. LA was a fraction of what it is. And just like the sprawl and the unchecked growth of this city, you can't just keep adding on, or contrary to that sprawl, you can't keep adding on to the airport. There are limitations. So to fix that and to upgrade that is going to take a lot of time, money, and resources. And The money is earmarked. The projections are there. The construction is omnipresent. And the people mover is a good start. It is exciting that we got that done. But there is a long, long, long way to go. And we really need to improve the experience at LAX. It's going to be incremental. But guess what? It's 2025. We're going to wake up tomorrow. And it's going to be 2028. And the Olympics are going to be here. And, you know, thank you, Karen Bass, the council people, the county supervisors, John Ackerman, who runs LAX. All the decision makers are at least focused and aware that there are issues. But it's going to be a process, and it's going to be headache upon headache for those of us that are traveling and flying. So look, more important than anything, safety. As long as there aren't any major incidents at LAX, I'm going to be happy. Maybe happy is not the right word, but I'll at least be satisfied because that is the most important. I will gnash my teeth, bite my nails, and crack my knuckles, and maybe mix in a few edibles and some drinks if I am heading to LAX and while I'm at LAX. But I'm excited and eager to see what the future has for LAX because the upgrades are needed and we need to fix LAX because right now it's a real dilemma flying out of there. I will look for Burbank first. In the meantime, I am excited to try Ontario at one point if the circumstances dictate. But at the end of the day, we need to fix LAX. So listen, after you like, subscribe, and share this episode, leave me a note in the comments, send me a DM, shoot me an email. I was so excited about the feedback I got for the last few episodes when I asked you to do that. So please do. If you feel most comfortable emailing evan@lainaminute.com. Simple. LA in a minute shirt. Let's get into it. If you want one of these, let me know. I'll tell you where to get one of these. I love the merch. Thank you, Merch Labs. They actually designed this. But tell me about your experience with LAX and tell me what you think. And tell me if you think that it is going to end up being a world-class airport. Because again, those headlines and what was it? I'm going to leave you with the one on Reddit, which I know isn't a headline, but is the one that made me laugh the most. Why is LAX a pathetic dump of an airport? You can only improve from there. So tell me your thoughts on the planned improvements. Tell me your experiences flying and fly safely. And good luck going wherever you're going. But know that when you come back, like I do, you're on the greatest city on the globe. And this is LA, and we need a world-class airport. So LAX, looking forward to it for the next few years to see what happens by the time the Olympics are here. All right, LA, it's been a minute.